And we're live to the world, and that is absolutely awesome. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world and whatever time zone that you're listening to. So, my name's Jason Cooper. I'm your host today for Mindful Leadership. So, what we're doing is we're talking to global leaders in their fields of training, coaching, facilitation, business, lots and lots of interesting, fun areas. And today, I'm speaking to a guy called Alan Hennessy. And welcome, Alan.
How are you, Jason? Great to
I'm
see you.
really, really, really fantastic. I want to give a little blurb so everyone knows who you are. I'm sure there's lots of people that listen to this that know who you are, but for the people that don't know who you are, Alan Hennessy is a digital and content marketing consultant, social media trainer, keynote speaker, and podcaster. Alan founded Kompass Media in 2015, offering all different types of approaches and managing digital online and lots of other. Well, like we're going to find a lot more out about Alan. His latest thing, and he's an expert in this area, and I truly mean this. He trains and advises people on LinkedIn. Everything to do with LinkedIn. Look, Alan's going to explain a little bit more on that in detail. I met Alan. I don't know when I met Alan, but I think about 3-4 years ago, maybe. And I'm not sure where I met him. I was thinking that before the show. I go, where did I meet Alan? I know I met him on several networking events in Dublin, Dublin, Ireland. So get that straight. It is Dublin, Ireland, not Dublin. There's a Dublin in the US somewhere. But yeah, we shared the same network, and he's been extremely helpful for me. Like, he gave me my first mic so I could actually start podcasting to the world, and he gave me some really good tips about podcasting. And Alan has been podcasting for many years now, and he's an expert in that area. So Alan, thank you very much for coming on my show today.
I'm delighted to be here. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, Jason. And thank you for such I suppose, a glowing resume, if you want to put it that way. But, I think it's only over the years that you start to realize, wow, how much have I actually done? And yeah, it's been, as I say, it's an overnight success that's taken me 10 years to get here. But look, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. I think it's all good. I think we met actually at a networking meeting up in Dublin City. I think it was one of
could have been actually
Cafe and Sen or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Many years ago, and we sort of just kept up with the relationship, and it's been great. It's been great, and it's delighted to be here today.
I love keeping in contact with people like yourself because you also inspire me. I learn a lot from you, and you're very helpful at feeding forward, which is a wonderful thing to have and a special gift. And if everyone did this, the world would be a better place. Not peace, love, and happiness, but what I mean. It's really good to share your knowledge that you have, and I've been doing it over the years. But you've done it in a really good way, and I appreciate that as well. So. I was going to actually ask you a question, but no, you've got something to say, so please say it.
No, I've always said, like, I've spent the guts of, I'm 51 years of age at this stage, so I've had a lot of experience, I suppose, in business and in life. But I think the thing that's always resonated with me is I always teach, or I help people in every shape and form, the way I would want to be treated and the way I would want to be helped. And the help that I got at the start of my career, especially with regards to, say, Kompass Media and digital marketing, was phenomenal. From really big influencers along the way that gave me great advice. And sort of now I'm in a position where I'm sort of giving out that advice now myself, and with my own take on it. Obviously, not like, scripting from the other person's point of view, but more so from my own point of view, and just helping people along the way. Because I think, as you say, it's paying it forward. Because if I know, look, I was very fortunate when I did start out that I ended up getting to know a lot of people, and they gave me, as I said, a lot of advice and steered me in the right direction. Because I think when we start anything, we're sort of blind. We say we have this pipe dream, at the start. But I think when it breaks down to reality, you go, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that and how do I do that and how do I do this? That. So I think it's important to be able to reach out to people and to chat with them, and that has always been my ethos in life and in everything I do.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. I'd like to touch on that point in a few moments, but I'd like to sort of cast your mind back a little bit to a younger Alan Hennessy, younger than you are now, maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago. Tell me your backstory, and then fast forward to where you are today, so people can get the Alan Hennessy that maybe not everyone knows about.
Well, look, I suppose if you want to go right back, I couldn't. I had trouble reading and writing until around about the age of 12, and then suddenly, and that does that sort of, you don't feel as confident as everyone else because you have this. And I look back at it now and I go, that is such a load of baloney, because it really is. Because I think it's just how you feel. So it's a thinking. It's like, so for anyone who has, problems with reading and writing, I always say to them, you're so creative in other ways, because everyone has a creative streak in them in some shape or form. And it's about just finding that. And 9 times out of 10, you'll be amazing. You'll be excelling at something else. And I suppose the reading and writing will come. It's not with practice and help, but that was always sort of one of the, I suppose, the sum of points. And I'm really being very open and saying that, because I think it adds context to where I'm going with this. Is that I went in and I left school in fourth year. And I went and I started working in restaurants and hotels and everything else, and and just making a living type of thing, because there was never sort of the ambition, because I was, I suppose, challenged in that way, that it was never that ambition to go, oh, I have to go to college, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. So you started in a job, and I learned from the bottom up, basically. And I ended up running 2 big pharmaceutical warehouses for a number of years in corporate. But I think another great outlet that I had is I was always interested in music and DJing. And I always remember my mother and father saying to me, when people that come to the house, they say, oh, where's Alan? Oh, he's in the back room talking to himself. And actually, I was talking to myself, because I was playing music and I was doing DJ in the back room. And then at the age of 13, I went to there was a roller disco in Dunleary called the Top Hat in Dunleary in Ireland, and since gone, unfortunately. But anyway, I used to go down there, and I rang the manager down there and I said, could I come down and play me records? And I remember it was this Wednesday afternoon, the sun was splitting the trees, and I walked out of the house with my little red box of records and said to my father, will you bring me to the Top Hat? I'm going to be DJing. And he sort of looked at me and he went, okay. And I did, and that's where it started. And that career in DJing and presenting and radio went on for 30 odd years and still goes on today. So, and I think over the years, excuse me, over the years, it gave me a huge understanding of people, and how to, I suppose, deal with people, how to get the best out of people, especially with regards to the DJing, because you were reading crowds from the minute they walked in. You were reading what they, and you started to understand, okay, if I play this or play that, or if someone comes up and starts talking to you, how to interact with them. So that was a really, really huge learning curve, and it really helped me to be, when I went into business, because all of that was there. And then, of course, I spent, many years in corporate. So I understand how the corporate world how it works, and how the restrictions and, and the level of professionalism and what it is. And I would always bring something to the table. Like I took a voluntary redundancy. When the time was right, I took the voluntary redundancy about I suppose, about 12, 13 years ago, after spending so many years. And I always remember one of the guys when we were finishing, the day we were finishing, he says, have to go and look for another job now. And he said to me, he says, well, you'll never have that problem. And I says, what do you mean by that? He said, well, you're fingering so many different pies that you will always get a job. Because when I was in the pharmaceutical business, I was part of a number of different teams. So I just wasn't just doing my job as much as I was doing it. I was also diversifying and working with other departments. And
Yeah.
I was on the, diversity and inclusion team. I was on the sports and social team. I was in the, the development side of it. And I ended up being on the site sale team for one of the companies that I was working for. So it gave me a huge understanding of how business works. And then when I started mine, I said, okay, right, well, I want to do good. And in order for me to do good, I have to be good at what I do, but I also have to be able to help people and help them understand how to get the best out of what they're doing. Okay. So if we take on a digital marketing project, I don't just go, okay, here's what we do, here's how we do it, and this is it. I believe I sit with the client, or I sit with the customer, I sit and talk to them and find out about them, and then get their personality. And I think they get to know me, and then there's that know, like, and trust scenario, which is so important, and I always say to people, before I even like you, I have to know who you are. Before I like you, I have to be, or before I can trust you, I have to like you. And there's that know, like, and trust is so important in business. But I think being personal, Jason, is the key to everything. And it really is.
Yeah, I totally agree. Alan, that was really, thank you for that. That was a really touching and authentic. Like, I'm not saying authentic because it's that word's been thrown around a lot, but you're very honest in your approach there, and I thank you for that. And that little journey from you, which resonates with me, because when I was younger, like, my reading and writing skills weren't the best. They're better now. But it's one of those life things that you look back on it and you go, well, if I was taught in a slightly different way, but I'm not doing so badly now. I can write now. I can read better. I can do this, that, and the other. So that was incredible. So really, thank you for that, Alan. And
just on one point on that is like, when I took voluntary redundancy, I decided, okay, I'm going to start up Kompass Media. Now, Kompass Media was always there. It was always in the background. It was a side hustle at the time and whatever. But it says, right, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to get some sort of degree. I need to get a degree that I have a reputable reputation behind me. So I went back to college and done a postgraduate diploma in digital marketing. Now, leaving school in fourth year, which was many years ago,
a couple of years ago,
and then going back into college as a mature student took a huge amount to do that. And I remember being sitting the first day, and this is a part for, I suppose, anyone who's thinking about going back to college as a mature student. I went back, and I remember the first day walking in and said, right, well, I'll just sit at the back of the lecture, and I'll just sit up the back, and I'll just take the notes, and I'll just do whatever I have to do and soak everything in. And that was great. And I did that for the first time.
It's a challenge. I know that, 'cause I've done it myself. So I concur with you there.
But then after about 3 weeks, like, people were the lecturer or the teacher was asking the questions. The teacher was asking the questions, and he said, he asked one particular question, and there was a load of people in the front were giving their answers, and they were saying no. He was saying no, and I just said, why not just ask the person? Like, they were talking about a scenario of a company. How do you get the best out of it, and whatever. So he says, I just held my hand up, and I just says, why don't you just ask the person? He says, that's the right answer. He says, that's the right. So I suppose through learning, through the life experiences that I've had, I was a lot more I suppose, in tune with what what we were doing. So I think it's being afraid, not being afraid to stand up and go and put yourself forward, and it's also about, you know, having that confidence and belief in yourself to be able to do that.
So you're shown a huge amount of compassion, but also leadership in that respect, in the same
Mm.
respect, by sort of leading and showing other people how to do what you do, which is marvelous, and it's a great skill to have. And other people that I speak to said, "Oh, you do this, that, and that." Oh, I can never do that, but you can, and we can all do it, but only if you want to do it, or you have the passion to do it. And you've obviously have that passion, and I love what you do. So it's wonderful. Please, can you describe to the audience exactly what you do and how you feed that back into everyone else?
Okay, so basically, I am a social media consultant, digital marketing consultant. When you say digital marketing, people run a mile because they say that's too vast. So I sort of, you know, I suppose, um, niched in on a particular area, and social media it fascinates me.
Yeah.
Just fascinates me, the power of it and how we can connect and how we can become social and talk to each other. And I'm not saying that face to face is not good, because it is. It's the most important part. And, you know, but I think social media is brilliant for starting conversations, for learning about people, getting to know people. Like, I have the podcast. There's over 120 episodes. Every one of them have come from social media, from
Yeah.
connecting with people on social. So I'm a social media consultant, trainer, and a podcaster. And
I was on
I
one of your podcast courses actually, way back a couple of years ago. So yeah, very good. You were delivered it extremely well. As much as you had a few technical challenges on the day, but the good thing was you think on your feet, which is really good. So I like that about you.
Yeah, well, I think, and that's, and especially when it comes to training with people, that's my big thing. You know, like, anyone can stand at the top of a classroom and put on a PowerPoint presentation and say, this is right. That's well and good. Some people like that and some people don't. But my approach is I will always teach the way I would want to be taught too.
Yeah.
So my idea, my thinking is that it's more of a conversation. I'm giving you the information to go and do that. I'm not going to say to you, here's step one, here's step two, unless I'm actually being requested to do that. But my whole idea of training is letting you understand by telling stories about how this works, so you can put it in context. Because that's the way I learn. That's the way I learn. I love to understand. I love to say it. I go, wow, I could do that. I could, and inspiring people, you know. And I think that's my key important part of what I do. And I believe the personal approach, I've always, from day one of starting Compass Media, it always has been that personal approach, that when you pick up the phone and you ring Compass Media, it's me you're going to speak to, or it's going to be one of the girls. But we're going to talk to you, and we're going to be there. So when you pick up the phone at 6 or 7 o'clock at night and say, oh, I have a problem, it'll be us who will answer the phone. It won't be an automated system.
Mm-hmm.
It's about finding out about the person and helping that person, but also speaking to them in their language and how they understand. And I think that's a lot of people miss out on. That is that they speak in all these, you know, I suppose these acronyms and stuff like that, and people don't understand it. Like, I will understand. Like, if I'm talking to a digital marketing or else, you know, together,
Language, yeah.
we'll use them like there's no tomorrow. But if I'm talking to someone, like, an example would be, I was talking about, you know, shortening a website link, and I just use Bitly, and someone says to me, "What's Bitly?" And I had to stand back from myself and go, oh yeah, sure, they don't know this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you have to explain that. So it's explain them. Then once they explain to them, you see these light bulbs, mom. And that's the joy of training and the teaching that I love, is the seeing people having light bulb moments and understanding and getting benefit from it, and really, really focusing. And I've seen, like, I've trained with a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of success that they've had. And, you know, that's not all because of me, but I was part of that process of getting them to there. And that really, that makes my day every day when that happens.
It's also seeing it through their eyes as well, and describing and explaining it through their eyes. But you're right, because stories are the most powerful way of getting people to understand a metaphor or
Mm,
analogy of what you're explaining. So it resonates with them. It's almost like a shortcut from A to B in the shortest way possible that they get it. And if you're good at that, and you're very good at that, Alan, of telling stories and describing things in a sort of colorful way, that people would go, oh yeah, got that. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll go and do that myself, which is wonderful. So how would you see, this is all about mindful leadership,
mm.
and we have to talk about an element of that, which is great. How would you see that with the work and the roles that you do right now, with sort of, because you do lead in and influence in a really organic way, and you do host a monthly global meetup, which is leading, and you design all of this, so you get followers like me coming on the call and giving my ear of it. But it describing your own words that.
Well, I believe that, you know, in order to be a leader, and I think where everyone is a leader. Everyone is a leader. It goes back to when we talked about stories. Yeah, everyone has a story, but I think everyone has their own leadership qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's personally with me, I believe that the way I will lead from the front, if you want to put it that way, is that I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I'm not afraid to learn from others. You mentioned Global Tea Break that we do, and it's a meetup, and we do it every month, right? Okay, I've hosted and initiated, and we set it up, and myself and Scott Smith, but I learned so much on that from others, from yourself, and from many others that have been on that, and it's a great way of learning. But people automatically see that, and that's why they come back, and that's why they do it. And I believe that, you know, leadership is about nurturing others,
Mm-hmm.
because when you start to nurture others, they will start to lead as well, and then through that, it ripples out. And I think it's so important that as a leader that we, you know, are not afraid to get down and dirty, because people see that and they resonate with it, and they can say, yeah, okay, well, this guy is not afraid to sit down and try and work on this with us, as
Yeah.
opposed to just telling us, right, well, I want this done or that was done, because that's not leadership. That's being bossy.
Yeah.
Simple as that. It's pure and simple. That's being bossy. Okay, there has to be a certain amount of leadership, but if you have the skills and people look up to you and they say, well, we're looking for you for direction. And I don't mean look up and put you on a pedestal, but look up to you and say, okay, well, Alan's gone through this process, so I'm going to learn from him.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you lead from that front. And I really believe that some of the best leaders are the ones that are not afraid to sit down and do it with the person, because
Absolutely.
that shows leadership, because that shows that, you know, we're all in this together. All right. And I'm just going to maybe guide you along the path that you need to go, but you're going to do that work. And then when you finish that piece of work, you can now look back and say, wow, look at what I've done. And it goes back to what we spoke about at the start when you introduced me, is where you go, wow, look at all I have achieved. And that's leadership, because you're leading people to where they want to go
Absolutely.
as much as anything else.
Alan, something because I've been into where you are at the moment, I've actually sat in there, so I get it the right way.
Yeah.
Sat in your studio, and I find you extremely creative, and that hasn't that's always been there. But the question I want to ask is, I was watching a documentary about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I can't remember. I stumbled across it. It was on Discovery or whatever, and it was about this farm out in Wales, and they converted it into a studio. You would love this anyway. And they had the likes of Led Zeppelin back in the sort of 70s, and they produced the best album they did. And then they had Queen go in there. And because it's an isolated farm and they have all the equipment there, they can do what they like. They can be creative. They can go out and get drunk or whatever they choose to do. Bohemian Rhapsody was produced in that studio as well. And then in the 90s, Oasis produced the best album, and then Stone Roses and all of these sort of people. So the question is, like, they had the time and the space to do this. So given that to you, what is your creative space and how do you use it to create what you do?
I think with being creative, we're creative every day. We're creative in everything. Like I would see, I could see a tree flowing in the road or in the park, and I go, okay, there's something there that I can do, and I think the creativity that comes from comes from is not narrow focusing. Look at the bigger picture. Look at more that's around you. It's like when we talk about, you know, okay, I have two daughters, and my thing, always my saying to them, and they're sick of hearing me saying it is never work in the petrol station, own the petrol station, and that's not putting anyone down that works in the petrol station. But what I'm saying is reach out, think big, think big. So like that with creativity, I think that's exactly the same. That you have to expand and think of not just like if I'm creating a graphic for someone and let's say it's to do with business, I might necessarily put out, a picture of a fella sitting at a desk. I might,
sorry, thanks for the graphic.
yeah, but like my whole point would be is that it's think of something that's going to resonate with that person, that's going to draw that person in, right? You can still make it look professional and whatever context the actual subject is, but it's thinking about something differently. Like we done a graphic for a exam center a couple of months back, and I found this beautiful graphic of a guy sitting in a suit, but he has the clown shoes on him, huge big clown shoes on him, right? And instead of me saying, come and take your exams, blah, 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 blah with us, I went, put your best foot forward. And it was just changing the whole dynamic of thinking of how we would get that message out. So put your best foot forward intrigues people. So it makes them sort of go, okay, what is this? Now that comes from, research, and it comes from a number of years of doing this. But I think it's about being creative. It's about thinking, I don't like using think outside the box because I don't think there is a box. I think it's just we put these boxes into our own minds to say, okay, this is where I am. It's the same with comfort zone. I don't believe in comfort zones because I think we all have so much to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And when we offer that out and we start thinking on a bigger scale, that we start getting a lot more ideas. I will always preach when I'm teaching, no idea is a stupid idea. Put it on the table because something will come out of it, something down the line. So no matter what you think of, put it out, put it down there. I have a book. I have a book here that every time I think of something, I'll put it in it because I go, I may not use it today or tomorrow, but I'll come back to it. I go, okay, that's something that I need to look at. So I think it's about opening up and thinking of the bigger picture.
Wonderful. I love that idea. I think I might have surprised you with that question, but you came up with
yeah, really it did. I was like, okay, where are we going with this one?
We're going to get around this one. But that's good. You came up with some really good stuff. But I'm going to surprise you again, actually, because again, I was everything's back to movies and stuff that I watch on Netflix and all of that. So, particular, I can't for the life remember the name of it again. I think it was Jamie Foxx in it quite recently. It's on Netflix anyway. So I was watching it. I was going, love that. So basically, you watched the movie Limitless, have you? About they take these pills and they go off. But this one was particularly about these illegal drugs or whatever they might be. But what they gave you is a superpower for 5 minutes. So invincibility, or you grow as big as you can, or you fly, but it's for 5 minutes. So you take it, you twist it, it lights up, you pop it down, and they put a time on, and it gives you whatever, but it's only down to the person. So down to you. You get a specific skill for you, or a superhuman power, or whatever it might be. But I might get something completely different. So if you had this, what would it be, and how would you use it?
Oh, I suppose superpower. Well, you could go with all the usuals. Oh, I want to be whatever it is. But I think my superpower would just to be to reach as many people as possible, and just to, I suppose, give them, and I suppose to influence and show them that anything is possible. And I think anything is possible if you put your mind to it. If you work hard enough at it, you will always have that. And I think that would be is to spread that type of message and to get to people and let them understand it. Okay, I could say my superpower would be is that, I don't know. I can't even think offhand. You've done me, yeah. And that's a first. That is a first, Jason. You're the first.
Hey, second time this week I've done
Like I'm actually gone. My mind went blank there. Maybe that's what it is. That your mind doesn't go blank. That's the superpower that I'd like to have.
I love that. Good. I've summoned someone else this week by one of the questions that are on the spot. So that's good. So Alan, I really thank you so much for your precious time. And like it does mean a lot to me that you come on and spoke about your life, spoke about leadership, because this is all about leadership. And I want people to take something away, some golden nugget, some gem that you've said and suggested to people today, and hopefully they can learn, and then they can share that with other people. That's my goal by doing this, is to share it. And like you've given it to me, I give it to someone else, and that's how it should work. So Alan, how do people, I know I've got this little ticker on the bottom, how can people find out more about you?
Well, the easiest way is just to, I suppose, go to Google and type in Alan Hennessy or Kompass Media, but you can find out all the details on Kompass.ie. And also, you can find me across all the social platforms. More so, LinkedIn and Twitter would be sort of the main places that I would be. And if you are reaching out and you do want to have a chat with me, and I'm happy to talk to anybody, and even if it's just to have a quick conversation, happy to do that. But do let me know that you see me here on the Jason Cooper Show. Yes, indeed. Make sure that you let me know that, and I can share a good few pieces there as well with you. But it's probably LinkedIn, Twitter, or the website. Happy to chat, and if you are reaching out to connect me, and I'm going to say this, and this is the nugget. This is the nugget: is if you reach out with me on LinkedIn, I won't accept it if you just press the connect button. I want you to send me a note and say hello, because it's about being personal and it's about connecting and relationship.
How I would like to do it as well is send a video introduction. I've started to do it often. That works really well.
And that's the key, you know what I mean? And that's what we have to be. But I think at the end of the day, it's about being honest. And I spoke to a good friend on another show, Simon Haig, and we talked about honesty. And I think honesty is always the best policy. Be truthful, be honest, and be helpful, because they are the keys to everything. They're the keys to everything. We overcomplicate so much in our lives, but it's only when we're honest with ourselves, and then honest with each other and helpful, we get real results. And that's leadership. That is pure leadership.
You absolutely nailed it straight away, and that was perfect. So thank you everyone for listening today. You've been listening to the Mindful Leadership Podcast with your host Jason Cooper and my very special guest Alan Hennessy from Kompass Media. If you want to listen to more wonderful interviews like this from global leaders, please subscribe in the link that is all supplied with this. So thank you again, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.